The play King Lear is full of self-ignorance, it's full of deception, it's full of lies, it's full of anger, with a couple exceptions, a couple notable exceptions, and I think one of the notable exceptions comes to us in the form of the character Cordelia. And very early in the play, King Lear, who says he wants to retire in peace, I want to retire in peace, and I want the kingdom to remain in a state of peace, and so I'm going to divide up my kingdom. But before I divide up my kingdom among my 3 daughters, I need my 3 daughters to tell me how much they love me. And so there's sort of a competition. Which of you 3 daughters can express your love to me in the most satisfying way? Well, 2 of the daughters, Regan and Goneril, go along with this, and they say all sorts of crazy things, flattering Lear, and Lear gobbles this stuff up. He comes to his 3rd daughter, whom he refers to as our joy. Later, not much later, Lear will say, I loved her most. Cordelia was the daughter I loved the most. But we have reason to question that, because if Lear really loved Cordelia, if Cordelia really was Lear's joy, how is it possible that he would not know? How is it possible that he didn't know that Cordelia was constitutionally incapable of playing the kind of game Lear was asking her to play? Cordelia, let's play this game, you against your sisters, to tell me how much you love me, and then I'll give you part of my kingdom based on what you say. What we quickly discover is Cordelia is constitutionally incapable of playing this kind of game. And she expresses that here. She says that I want that glib and oily art. In other words, I lack that glib and oily art to speak and purpose not. In other words, I do not possess the ability to say things I don't mean. I do not possess the ability to say things I don't mean. And when Lear says to Cordelia, so what do you have to say, Cordelia? And she says, nothing. And Lear says, what? Nothing will come of nothing. Speak again. And Cordelia says, unhappy that I am, I cannot heave my heart into my mouth. I love your majesty according to my bond, no more, no less. Now, we might critique Cordelia and say, Cordelia, you could have, looked for a smoother way to navigate this situation. You didn't need to be so blunt, right? You didn't need to be so direct. And so perhaps Cordelia bears some responsibility for what follows. But when we compare Cordelia's direct, simple honesty to the breathtaking nonsense that her 2 sisters are throwing at Lear, then I have to say I admire Cordelia. And she reminds the king, or she tells him something that presumably he would have known had he really known his daughter, and that is that she simply did not possess that glib and oily art of saying things that she did not mean. And as I just quoted this to you, she tells Lear that I cannot heave my heart into my mouth. That's just her personality, that's her character. She's constitutionally incapable of doing what Lear is asking her to do. And again, maybe we could fault Cordelia for being too direct. But at least she's telling the truth, unlike her 2 dog-hearted sisters. That phrase will be used later. Cordelia, tries to be the person of realism, of direct honesty. Goneril and Regan are telling Lear, I love you more than eyesight, I love you more than space, I love you more than anything. It's just, words simply cannot express, Lear, how much I love you, Goneril and Regan say. And Cordelia sort of makes a pretty good point. Cordelia seems to say, look, can we just get real here for a minute? If Goneril and Regan really love you, Dad, King Lear, if Goneril and Regan really love you as much as they say, How is it possible that they have anything left over for their husbands? Why have my sisters husbands if they say they love you all? Can we, be realistic here, right? But this doesn't work. Cordelia's direct honesty, her direct frankness, enrages Lear. You would think that a father might appreciate a daughter's stand on honesty. Again, maybe she could have been a bit softer. But you would think that maybe Dad would appreciate his daughter's courage, her willingness to say, Dad, I can't play this silly game that you have asked me to play. And can we be realistic and can we be honest? As things go on, early on in the play, Cordelia says, such a tongue as I am glad I have not, though not to have it hath lost me in your liking. Cordelia is saying, Dad, even though I am constitutionally incapable of playing this silly game, even though I am not able to heave my heart into my mouth, even though I lack that glib and oily art of saying things I don't mean, all of these things are true, and that has cost me. You now claim to disown me, right? But nevertheless, I am glad not to have such a tongue. I am glad not to be a person of casual dishonesty. I am glad to be a person who is willing to say what's true and to stand and to accept the price that comes for saying what's true when I'm surrounded by liars. Surrounded by liars. And yet Cordelia stands. Now another character, France, who is considering Cordelia as a wife. Lear says, look, Cordelia's, she doesn't get anything. She doesn't get any territory. Lear says to France, so, if you want her, there she is, but all you're getting is her. You're not getting any of the goodies that might have come with, marrying the daughter of a king. France is one person who can see Cordelia's value. He sees her honesty. He sees her courage. And so France says of Cordelia, she herself is a dowry. Cordelia herself is the prize. I don't need anything else. I've come to see that perhaps I was attracted to marrying Cordelia because of the goodies that would have come with marrying the daughter of a king, the territory and the prestige and the status. But now I see that Cordelia is herself a dowry. Cordelia, this person of honesty, this person of integrity, is herself the prize. Right at the end of the play, the next to the last sentence, a character called Edgar, I think brings us back to the beginning of the play. And he says that we should speak what we feel and not what we ought to say. What do we really think? Not what does the context tell us we should think, but what do we actually think? What do we think? And this is what we see in Cordelia. She's in a context where her two sisters are lying. Her self-ignorant father has concocted this crazy situation, but Cordelia says what she feels. She says what she thinks, and she stands on that. And for that reason, in a dark and tragic play, I see Cordelia as a bright spot and as a point of inspiration.